class 6. Today we are going to do the same chapter, that is chapter 2, flower, fruit and seed. And the topics we are going to cover in this video are fertilization, fruits, types of fruits, structure of a fruit, etc. Okay? So first we will be learning about fertilization. What is fertilization? You have already studied about pollination. So after pollination, the second process is fertilization. It is the fusion, that means the union of male and female reproductive cells. We call them male and female gametes also. And what happens when they fuse? They produce a zygote. So it's the process of fusion of male and female gametes, okay, or the reproductive cells, and then they produce a zygote, that is called fertilization. Now look at this diagram. This is the same diagram of a plant. You have already studied in the beginning the sepal, outermost pearl, then the petals. And here we have got the androecium, and this is gynoecium, the male reproductive part and the female reproductive part. Now look here, this is the anther. So inside this you can see the red spots, red dots. So these are the pollen grains. In the previous class I told you the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma is called pollination. So what happens here? The pollen grains are transferred from anther to the stigma. Okay? This is the female part, stigma, style and ovary. Inside the ovary you can find the ovule here, and inside there is egg cell, that is the female reproductive cell or female gamete. Now, pollination we have already discussed. So what happens after pollination? Now look at this. After pollination, once the pollen grains reaches to the stigma, so pollen grains, the red dots, these pollens, they are coming here, getting stuck on the stigma by the various agents. Then what happens? They begin to form a tube. Can you see this tube? So they begin to form a tube which enters into the stigma. From here it goes to the style and travel downwards towards the ovary. So that's what it is written here, which enters into the stigma and travel downwards towards the ovary through style. Okay, so this yellow tube you can see it is developed, it is going towards the ovary. Ultimately it reaches the ovary. The tube containing pollen grain is called pollen tube. So this yellow tube is called the pollen tube. What is there inside? The pollen is there, the male reproductive cell. Now you can see clearly. Here we are showing only the pistil or carpel, you can say, where you have got the stigma, style and ovary, three main parts of the female reproductive system. This red or pink one which you can see here, this is the pollen grain which has come from the anther. Okay? Now this develops a tube which is called the pollen tube. Now it goes and travels towards the ovary, and ultimately what happens? It reaches here, penetrates and goes inside where egg cell is there. So the first one, what happens? The pollen tube enters the ovary. This tube is entering the ovary and penetrates the ovules. So inside the ovule you can see it has come. This tube has come. The ovule, in the ovule, pollen tube releases the male reproductive cell, which is also called male gamete. The red one here you can see here. So this is the male gamete, male sex cell. Okay, so this is released here inside. The male gamete fuses with the female reproductive cell, which is also called female gamete, present in the ovum of the ovule. So here you can see these two cells, male and female. This is also called egg. Female gamete and male gamete, they fuse, they unite, they combine. And what they do after combination? The union of male and female reproductive cells, the gametes, results in the formation of zygote. So ultimately what is produced? Zygote is produced. The zygote develops into a seed. Later on the zygote turns into a seed. Once again we will be doing this. This is the female reproductive part. Stigma, style, ovary. Pollen grains are transferred from the anther. It develops a pollen tube, travels downwards towards the ovary, penetrates, goes in and releases the male gamete. Here already you have got the egg on the female gamete. They combine, they unite and then they give zygote, which ultimately turns into a seed. Now this is the cycle you can see. Just now what we discussed, it's the same. Anther produces the pollen grains, it comes to the stigma and then the pollen tube goes inside and inside this egg and sperm, or you can say male or female gamete, they fuse together and produce zygote. Okay? Now this zygote is there inside the fruit, it develops into a seed. Now seed, once it gets all the things it requires for germination like temperature, moisture, etc., then it germinates into a new plant. And if it is a flowering plant, it will be having a flower, and again the same thing will be repeated to continue the life cycle of a plant. Okay? Fate of each part of the whorl after fertilization. What happens after fertilization to all the whorls of the flower, all the parts of the flower? There are 4 whorls: calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. So what happens, you see? Sepals, petals, sepals the green ones, petals the colored ones, and the stamen, that is the male reproductive one. All these 3, they wither and droop off, they fall off. Okay, that is no more required, their job is done. Ovary turns into a fruit. So ovary becomes a fruit. Wall of the ovary becomes the wall of the fruit. Ovule changes into seed. Integuments change into the seed coat, that is the tough covering of the seed to protect the seed. So that is a seed coat we call it. And the fertilized egg, it becomes embryo. What is embryo? Embryo is the baby plant. So it is there inside the seed. Once it gets all the requirements, it turns into a plant. Now we'll be talking about the fruit, which is the ovary. After fertilization, the ovule present in the ovary grows and becomes a seed. So ovule which is there inside the ovary, it turns into seed. The seed contains embryo or the baby plant and the food also for the developing new plant. So each seed has got an embryo which is called the baby plant, and for this baby plant some food is required to grow, and that is also there inside the seed. There is a tough protective covering around the seed and we call it seed coat. So seed coat protects the seed. It is very tough. It's the covering of the seed. The function is protection of the seed. Now, in some fruits you must have seen there are many seeds. In some fruits only one seed is there, just like mango. Okay? In orange there are many. So how it happens? Actually, all the ovules present in the ovary of a flower get fertilized. If more than one is there, all of them they get fertilized by pollen grains to grow and grow to become seeds. Thus, the ovary of a flower may give rise to a number of seeds. Not only one, it may have more than one seeds also. Now this seed, you know that it develops into a new plant. And the last one here, after fertilization, what happens? The ovary of a flower develops and becomes a fruit. It is the ovary, the swollen part of reproductive system. It develops into a fruit. The ovary becomes fruit. That is why we can call what is fruit? Fruit is the ripened ovary of the flower. So definition of fruit will be, fruit is the ripened ovary. Okay, after fertilization, the ovary turns into fruit and ovule turns into seed. Now structure of a fruit. A fruit consists of two parts. The outer part is called pericarp and the inner part is the seed. The pericarp develops from the ovary wall. So ovary wall becomes the pericarp, that external part. Now look at this layers of mango fruit, the parts of mango fruit. This pericarp, which is the outer part, it is divided into three: epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. And the other part is this seed. Okay. So let us learn about all these three one by one. The three parts of pericarp. The pericarp is further differentiated or divided into three layers. The first one here is epicarp. It is the thin, leathery part and is generally discarded. This portion, okay, the outer skin, which you throw, you don't eat this. This is called epicarp. Okay, this is the first part of pericarp. The next one is this one, the fleshy part, the sweet part which we eat. We call it mesocarp. Mesocarp is a fleshy, sweet and edible part of the fruit which we eat. And the last one is the endocarp. It is the innermost hard layer which encloses the seed. Now here you can see it is shown with a black lining. So this is the endocarp. Okay, what it does, inside this you have got the seed. So it encloses the seed. So there are three parts of pericarp. That is epicarp, the outer one which we usually throw, discard. Mesocarp is the part which is in between, which is fleshy and sweet, edible part which we eat. And the last one is endocarp, which is the innermost part which encloses the seed. Now there is one diagram given in your book also. It is the same. Here you can see this portion is called exocarp. Just now I told you epicarp, don't get confused. It is the same. So epicarp, the middle part, fleshy part which we eat, mesocarp, endocarp which encloses the seed. And seed too has got some parts: endosperm, embryo, that is your baby plant, and seed coat, the outer covering. What it does? It protects the seed. Okay. Now types of fruits. So basically there are two types of fruits: dry fruits and fleshy fruits. So first we will be talking about the dry fruits. The fruits whose pericarp is not distinguished into three layers, that is epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. So these are called dry fruits. So you cannot differentiate the pericarp. And these are the examples of dry fruit: sunflower, nut, wheat, legume, etc. Then comes the fleshy fruits. The fruits whose pericarp is distinguished into epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. If your pericarp is divided into three: epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp, then it is called the fleshy fruits. So usually the fruits which you enjoy like apple, tomato, strawberry, cherry, all these are fleshy fruits. So that's all for today. Have a great day.